Welcome everyone to the Eugene City Council work session for October 26th. Welcome everyone here and at home. As you know, we're today going to be working on some important honing in on our coordinated downtown development work. But before that, you see before you a couple motions that Councilor Taylor has, and I'm going to ask her if we could put this off until another meeting, because I don't want to take up the time that we have to deal with this for a discussion on this particular item, but I'll be glad to assure you that it'll be brought up very quickly.
Okay, I don't think they should take any time to speak of, but...
It's hard to tell with us.
I do.
Steve?
Yes, they will.
Just saying.
Okay, don't do it when I'm out of town.
I won't. That would be kind of wasteful.
When exactly is that?
Okay, thank you.
Get my calendar here.
You'll bring them back. You'll see that they're brought back.
Yes, and I'll even, after we talk, I'll tell you when that will be.
Thank you.
Surely. All right, let's move on into the coordinated downtown development.
Thank you, Mayor, and I'll just turn it over to Christy Hammett and the team to make a presentation and prior to your conversation.
Good afternoon. I'm Christy Hammett, Central Services Director. I'm joined today by Sarah Maderi and Mike Penwell. The three of us have been actively working with the Joint Task Force and evaluating site options and working with the ERG, and are back today to talk to you as this a continue on, if you will, from the JEO session that you had last week, where Cameron McCarthy provided quite a bit of information about the different siting options for 6 different options for the 3 different sites. And what the purpose of our work session today is to be able to provide them with some information so they can continue to move forward with their costing and estimating. You received quite a bit of paper from us today. You have a copy of the PowerPoint presentation, but because one of the slides had an omission on it, we printed a full page of the programming space needs, and so that's what you have there. And then there's some other documents that we'll talk through a little bit later. All right. So just a little bit of refresher here about some things that we talked about last week. The team is basically looking at this as a 5-phased approach. Right now, if, beginning with the project goals, stakeholder outreach, communication plan, and some of that work that's been going on, the research and data gathering, Cameron McCarthy and the entire team has been doing a lot of outreach effort, not only with our internal stakeholders, but also with our external stakeholders to receive input. They've developed some programming and templates, and some of that information I just spoke about is in your packet. And we're at step 4. This is like if you are here, you are at task number 4. And our goal is to help move to step 5. One of the things that needs to be completed is the task 5, which is the final report, which will be presented to you on November 14th. So today is trying to move into that phase of the work, which will allow Cameron McCarthy to have a little bit more clarity about what direction it is that you want to provide to them in doing their final costing and analysis work. So this slide is also familiar to you. We talked about it a little bit last week. It's the progress update on the timeline and where we want to be and where we are today, and we're lagging a little bit from where we need to be in terms of our decision making, and so we're on a sprint to the finish to complete this work. This next document is the one I was referring to. You have a full page handout that speaks to the program summaries. The team has been working to solidify those numbers. And last week, I had Councilor Clark, you had a question about the square footage for the City Hall. And so we've revised that to 32,000 square feet, which reflects the gross square footage need, 25,000 program, 7,000 square feet shelf space. So. That would be the major difference. Everything else is the same. Along with your AIS, you received a prerequisites and considerations document. And so what that is intended to do is to guide the decision making on the important factors for consideration and thinking about the siting of the different facilities and the needs of those facilities. And could you go to the next slide, Zach? The document looks like that and includes a bunch of different questions or analysis points for your consideration. The 5 key areas are site, context, transportation, cost, and additional work required. This document is at a point right now where it still can be modified and or added to, but should be refined prior to Cameron McCarthy starting their final work. And they're kind of in that home stretch, if you will, about the work that they need to do. And we can talk about this document today if you have questions or need additional information or have seen some things that you would like to add. We'd be happy to have that conversation. The other point I would make about the draft prerequisites and considerations is that Cameron McCarthy has also met with the AIA, who has also provided some input into the prerequisites and considerations. Another piece of information that you requested last week was to have some more potentially more discussion or context around the values. And so this slide represents the City Hall values that we've been using in the project that we've been working on, and brought that for your reference and your discussion, and however you would like to do that today. The other area that you had questions about last week had to do with parking and what happens when when things start shifting and what are the impacts of those shifts. And as we mentioned last week, Cameron McCarthy has been working with city staff pretty closely to examine all the different opportunities that avail themselves into the future. The slide represents the existing conditions today, and at each of your seats, you received a copy of potential scenarios. I didn't put them up on the screen because they're a little bit hard to read, and I thought it might be more helpful for you to have them at your seat. But there's a parking strategy, if you will, for each of the different scenarios that you'll be talking about today so that you can use that for your consideration. There is a lot more work to be done with respect to parking and analyzing it. And what the goal is for Cameron McCarthy to understand the 3 options that they'll be taking a deeper dive on it and doing additional analysis, which will include a deeper analysis on parking, so that when they bring you your final report, it has the best information available. I will say that they are considering other future impacts, different structures that may be built in the future, things that may take away space, and so they're considering that into their analysis work that they're doing right now. And with that, I turn it over to Mike Penwell.
Sure. Hi, I'd just like to walk you through the scenarios a little bit. The team started with 12 different options, has narrowed it down to these 6 that fall into scenarios A, B, and C. Scenario A being City Hall moving forward on our city property, courthouse moving forward on the butterfly lot, and the 2 different options of that. Scenario B is sharing the existing City Hall site with City Hall and the courthouse, and opening up the butterfly lot for other options. And scenario C being the exchange where the county courthouse would move forward on the City Hall site, former City Hall site, and the City Hall would be on the butterfly lot. This next slide shows that with visual representations. Just a couple of things to point out on these. The county courthouse option, of course, looks at exploring reuse of the existing courthouse for the district attorney and the sheriff's office and the court functions and things that go with that in a new building. One of the interesting things that's developing about the costing work that the consultants are doing is that there's no significant difference in the cost of remodel versus new because of the age of the building, the condition, the seismic condition, asbestos, all those different things. Depending on the assumptions you make of, remodel might be slightly cheaper, but it might be slightly more expensive. And so for the purposes of decision making, it really appears to be about a wash. So, and that's important for us for phase 2 options as well, if we're considering that. So really the value is sort of the location of the site more so than the structure itself, and moving forward, more analysis could be done to decide whether a remodel would be appropriate or a new building. I'd also like to point out that the phase 2 options are represented in different ways, and particularly as we get down to the C scenarios, with City Hall on the Butterfly lot, it begins to suggest possibilities of a sort of a campus-like development if we so desire. And so for that reason, it's just representing that it could be a remodeled courthouse for Phase 2, could be a new building for Phase 2. We could continue to lease some space, or even some buildings around the park blocks may become available for sale over time. So it's not meant to say, you know, pick this, that, or the other. The important thing is that Phase 2, all these options are available to us: build new, remodel, lease space in a variety of scenarios. So that's not particularly a decision point. And so when we get to the costing point, we're not going to try to deal with all those subtleties, but this just sort of highlights some of the opportunities with the different sites. The stage today is narrowing down from 6 to 3, and so we really want to focus on the 2 options in each scenario, and so take the scenarios one at a time. So beginning with scenario A here with City Hall Phase 1 and 2 developing on the current City Hall site. And I would like to point out, too, that the county met yesterday and looked at various options, and because there's no appreciable difference between the remodel of the old building versus building new, then, of course, they'd like to consolidate everything into one building. So they've already narrowed down in terms of their preferences for options A and B to a combined building, and then C is the same for them in the 2 options, so it doesn't really matter. So our focus is primarily on the city facilities and the opportunities we have before us today. So option 1A is the current path that we've been on previously with Phase 1 on the west half of the site with a plaza in front of it, a Phase 2 building behind, whether it's a taller quarter block building, whether it's spread out in a half block formation, or in option A2, it's shown as 2 separate buildings. That's just highlighting the fact that it gives us more flexibility over time as to how we implement future phases. The real difference in terms of cost and timing for us would be we could move ahead obviously fairly quickly with the current design with Phase 1 on the west half, but moving to the east half of the site requires some redesign, change on the right-of-way improvements, different utilities, additional site work, because the east half was prepped differently to a lesser extent than the west half. And so the difference here is redesign, missing our bid window in A2. But the reason this was explored was because the farmers market wants to be, on the park blocks or as close to it as possible. So we were looking at an option that moved the farmers market closer to the park blocks. The cost of that delay is a year plus some redesign plus some site costs, so somewhere in the $2.5 to $3 million range between A1 and A2. And moving on to and discuss it. Okay, let's go back to A, and we'll ask clarifying questions and discuss the differences.
Clarifying questions and discussion, and trying to narrow it down to the preference between these 2 options within the next maybe 15 minutes, George. And I got Mike, I've got Betty, I've got Alan and George, Chris. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. You didn't mention in the 1, 2, 3 scenarios, but you do hear the farmers market as a part of this consideration. And I didn't hear you say, although I was able to speak to some of the folks there, and I had heard something about them preferring not to be off of the current site and not in either of these scenarios. Did you get any kind of formal communication from them on that?
Yes, the farmers market and Saturday market both have communicated that they would prefer to have farmers market and Saturday market in proximity to each other on the park blocks. Yes.
Okay.
Good clarification. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Betty?
Thank you. When you said we don't have to decide now about Phase 2, if we give the county the old City Hall site, I think we do have to decide that we want a trade of the courthouse site, don't we? We were not going to trade that whole block for the butterfly lot.
Right, and anybody else can step in here, but there's I think there's the assumption that if, for scenario C, or even B for that matter, in which they occupy a portion of it, that there would be some negotiation about some exchange of land. But that's not the purpose per se of this discussion, is that?
Yeah, the purpose has been to kind of make sure that there is space and identified space for Phase 2 in the future. And so that when Mike says that it's not a consideration, what he's saying is that all of the scenarios capture the placement of Phase 2 as a possibility based on just these three scenarios that we're looking at today.
But I think we would have to be assured that we could get a good trade before we would give up the entire block.
Absolutely, and I think so eventually what will happen is the elected officials in both jurisdictions will have to come, hopefully, some sort of an agreement on what's the best. Part of that ultimately is going to have to be the negotiated trade of property or anything else to make that a fair deal in which all, for us, Phase 1 and 2 can be fulfilled. So it absolutely is a critical piece as we move down the road in the next several weeks.
Thank you.
Just to remind everybody that what we're trying to get is your questions answered and then move toward which option A1 or option A2 you want it to be further pursued. It doesn't mean if you say pursue this, that's your choice out of the, it just means it's the one out of these two that you want to have pursued. That's all it means.
I still have some time then, and I didn't, the reason I said what I did was I was responding to what Mike had already said. But as far as Phase 1 A is concerned, I just say let's don't move forward with either one.
Okay. All right. Alan, you're next.
So the consideration we're making is related to our city hall and not necessarily what the county's doing, right? So we're not, what's happening with the blue blocks isn't really relevant to this conversation, right?
They did the same thing. They focused on just the blue boxes and not the other.
Okay, that's good to know as a ground rule. And then, so $2.5 to $3 million to move the farmer's market a half a block over doesn't seem very appropriate to me, unless they want to cough up that money. So if I had to choose between the two options, I'd be, A1 would certainly be the one that I would look towards. There's a other question I had with regard to two buildings on A2. That doesn't necessarily mean it's two buildings. It's just conceptual.
Correct.
And yeah, so
So in other words, we could do A1, but showing two buildings, or A2 showing one building.
yeah,
It's just,
right.
yeah.
And then, so when do we talk about the parking aspects of each of these different phases? If we're going to choose between these,
If
that's
you
a
see
big
some
part.
parking issues that you want to bring up, by all means, do so now.
So we didn't go over the parking specifically for option A.
Counselor, I'm going to invite Larry Gilbert up to the table from Cameron McCarthy to help answer some questions that you might have about parking.
First question is, what's the circle mean in the little arrow? And
The circle in the arrow is the quarter-mile radius from the City Hall site. So that's, anything falls within that shows the parking associated with that. And then what we've identified, it's color-coded. All the green, solid green pieces are, and lighter green, are both parking structures and surface parking that's maintained and controlled by the city. And then the bluer pieces are parking structures or surface parking that's maintained and controlled by the county. And that's just the existing conditions. And on the right there, you see a summary total that we received from the city that has a summary total of how many parking spaces are available at each of those different parking lots shown on the diagram.
including how many new we'd need to add? So like, for instance, the buildup of the lot behind the bank building would be 404 new spaces? So
Well, that would be a scenario if the county and/or city engage in looking at expanding the best opportunity for structured parking and providing the most parking within that quarter-mile radius would be to add a parking structure on top of the existing parking structure, the two-story parking structure on top of the Umpqua and north of the Umpqua Bank area. And if they were to add 4 stories of parking, a parking structure on top of that, the project could realize about 404 more parking spaces in addition to the 200 plus that they have there now.
So at $30,000 a spot, that's $12 million.
Well, it might be a little less than 30,000, but we'd have to kind of refine, make sure our cost estimator, we have the right numbers in there, but it's certainly a large number for sure to build a parking structure of that size at that location.
And the 3 is the city-owned, so that's the temporary parking while expansion phase 2 isn't there.
Well, 3 is the parkade, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh, not in that one.
Oh, okay.
This
I'm sorry.
one.
I'm not seeing that.
I'm looking at the strategy.
Oh, okay. I don't have that.
There you go.
Thank you. That's good. Yeah, so 3 would it's only to determine if you could, under the building floor plate of whether it's, one building on that north side of the City Hall lot, measuring that area, it would be we can calculate based upon the square footage, how much parking we could gain under the footprint of a building of that size.
So this strategy is the strategy for option A, but it also takes into consideration phase 2? Or just
Yes, it takes in phase 2 structured parking underground of the phase 2 building.
The phase 2 building.
And there certainly is land available, and it's a part of the original City Hall construction documents to build some surface parking on the phase 1 work. And depending upon timelines, there could be more surface parking available on that site that would be one thing that could be considered.
And what's your estimate for structured parking cost per space? I've heard 25 to 30 is.
Well, I think probably 25 for above ground is probably a kind of a median number. Things vary, but it's probably 25,000 per parking space for a structure that's above ground. Below ground, it gets a little bit more expensive because of the waterproofing and pumps and different things, insulation and reinforcement and those kinds of things. So that could be an average of about 40,000.
Oh, really? That much more?
For something below grade.
Yeah, I've just watched one be built near my house on an apartment complex, and it is quite complicated to do that.
So in terms of this scenario, it assumes how many parking spaces could be realized if the court were to move onto the butterfly lot, how many parking spaces could fit in one level underneath that building, and again, how many parking spaces if there was a phase 2 City Hall building, how many parking spaces you could get. These are all, most of these scenarios that we're identifying are the structured parking, whether either below grade or above grade. There are opportunities, we haven't really gotten into that, of surface parking as well.
All right. And the difference between A1 and A2 is the same strategy, so that
Right.
doesn't make any difference.
No.
All right. Thanks.
All right, George?
Thank you. I'm glad that it's already been brought up that any conversation or any leaning toward one scenario or the other is just for the purposes of this conversation and to narrow it down to 3 options, because I believe there is another option out there that we have yet to address. And also, and I noticed that Judge Rasmussen was here, so I'm going to be careful how I word this. There's also the court ruling that may change the whole conversation altogether. So we may make a decision on 3 different scenarios, and based on a court ruling, they may just all go right out the window. So I want people to be aware of that when we're making these decisions, that we are taking that into consideration. And like Betty, I don't like either one of the A options. If I had to pick one or the other, I don't know, I guess I would go with A2.
Okay, Chris?
Thank you. Can you put the A scenarios back up on the screen? And Like the others, I agree. If we're only talking about the A options, they may not be the ones that I like the best. But if we're just looking at these two, the fact that the difference between A1 and A2 is $2 or $3 million, that's a significant consideration. Also, if you look at A1, the farmers market is in a location that they don't like. It's really not their ideal location. What if you took that, just hypothetically, and moved it to the parking lot south of the City Hall site? Could it go there? Is there a reason why it could not go there?
Farmers market?
Yeah.
That's certainly something that could be explored. We explored that with the farmers market several years ago when we were trying to find more space for them. And at the time, they indicated that wasn't a good spot. It wasn't enough space. And the shed also indicated some concerns with the noise and other things that affect their lessons during the day. So we didn't even do that on an interim basis. So we haven't been exploring it as a permanent option.
Okay, that's good. But if I had to choose between where it's located in A1 and putting it in the parking lot, that may be, they wouldn't like either one, but it might be the preferable to having it right, near Whole Foods. So that might be a better choice of the two. Okay, thank you.
Do you have a preference between the two that you want to express?
Well, at this point, I would think an extra $2 or $3 million is a lot of money. And so if I were going to choose one of these scenarios, I would probably choose A1 and move the farmers market.
All right.
And just to clarify, we're narrowing down for the consultants to continue their work for the purposes of pricing. So we're not choosing that, yeah, I'd go with that one or that one. This is the one we want the consultants to move forward with additional costing.
They haven't held their hands up, but I'm going to go to George, Brown, and Claire to see if they've got a preference between these two. So we're narrowing down purposes only.
Well, I do. Yes, I do. It would be option A, one. And thank you for providing all of the parking information. That's something I've been meaning to do for months, just on my own and not necessarily related to this project, but it's been difficult to gather all the information from all my scattered papers. So thanks a lot. This is great.
Thank you. Are you finished?
I'm done, yeah.
Okay, Claire, do you have a preference?
Well, I actually don't like either option because I would like the farmers market to stay at its current site. Mm-hmm. But if I was forced to choose, I guess I would go with 1A, and I don't have a copy of the PowerPoint in front of me, so.
Okay.
But the one that keeps the city hall on the current site, mainly for the cost-saving reasons.
Thank you. Again, we're not choosing between. We're just trying to narrow down. So, Mike, can you give us a preference?
Is it my turn in the queue? Is that
Yeah,
okay.
But I just want to say I'm trying to get to.
I do have an important question that I wanted to ask.
But let me just say I'm trying to get to the second option choice. So I'm trying to wrap it up. So go ahead.
The first thing I would say is I've heard 4 counselors say they don't like either choice. Is there a reason we have to continue to support option A at all?
You don't have to, of course. I think no, you don't have to. This is.
I don't support either option either. If I wouldn't articulate which, because I wouldn't choose either. I think to clarify, what I heard from the farmers market folks was that they wouldn't like either, that they'd like to stay on their current site. And secondarily, one of the pieces that I'm hoping we're going to get in the final information for decision making is the opportunity costs. And by that I mean, I've heard it costs us $1.2 million a year for the space we rent. So while we're waiting for a plan for phase 2 in some of these, I would like us to calculate how many years we think that will be, because it will be a cost to us of whatever the number is, $1.2 million a year, to not have a phase 2. So I want us to have that calculation as a part of our decision making as well.
And what I would say about choosing between these scenarios, of course, the direction that the council provided before was to take a look at these scenarios to bring information back to you as part of your fuller conversation. And so, of course, the council can choose neither. My my suggestion would be is that you just really do choose one, because it is information that you will have along with a whole lot of information which you can tease out eventually your final decision. So,
John, can I add to that? I would just add to that if we remember that the county is also focused on their option, the option that's going to be explored will show that there is no space in the butterfly lot under the scenario A. So the not liking either of these options because you want to keep the farmer's market there is actually choosing between the different scenarios. So it's kind of a false option, and we'll get to that. So it's really, do you want the city hall under this option where you don't have the butterfly lot to be where it is planned now or moved over?
I'm going to call it Alan, but I want to make a point. Unless something changed in this, if you ended up saying you didn't want either one of those because of the farmer's market issue, you're in essence saying you don't want City Hall on the City Hall property. That is what you're saying by doing that, because there is no other option where the City Hall is on City Hall property. The other things can be moved around, but that's essentially what you're looking at.
That's under option A.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Just under option A.
Just
Yes.
the B options have it on that property.
Right, in this one.
right. So,
Go ahead.
I caution us to go down the road that we're going down without the context of cost. The cost is huge.
Stewardship's value.
Option A, I imagine, is going to be the least costly of all of the ones by a long shot. And I'm surprised, George, that you would pick one that had $2.5 to $3 million more in cost just to move the farmer's market a half a block when we agonized over $18 million. Now we're adding $3 million more onto that. The cost is going to be hugely impactful in this decision, not only between the two options but that we're going to go through, but between the three options, A, B, and C. So we need to be very cognizant of cost. In this case, option A1 and A2 has a $3 million price tag to move the farmer's market over half a block. To me, I don't see that.
So George has to respond, and then I'm going to ask you to put a motion on the table for this particular, yes. I want a record of what you choice.
Just to make it clear, I didn't like either one, and I just made a recommendation based on to keep the discussion moving forward. Whether or not I vote for that in the final decision, I don't know. But being put in a position where you're forced to make a decision, let's move it forward, just find out the true cost. So I did not actually choose that one.
So I want to make clear that the motion that goes out here is not for a final decision. The motion is to choose between these two options and move that forward for a more intensive look and information.
Yes.
That's what it's about. So Alan, you put out your,
Move forward option A1.
your second?
Oh, second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion? All those in favor, please indicate. 1, 2, 3. Claire?
I vote yes.
4 in opposition. 1, 2, 3. It passes. Option A1. All right, moving on to scenario B.
Okay, so for scenario B, City Hall Phase 1 is still in its current location on the west half of the former City Hall block. And in this one, the courthouse shares the site, and that makes the butterfly lot then available for other uses. It allows the farmer's market to be located on a reestablished Northwest Park block. And then Phase 2 could be built in a number of places. It could be a new building across the street from Phase 1 on our current quarter block parking lot. It could be on the north half of the butterfly lot. It could be a new or remodeled building at the location of the Lane County Courthouse. And I think the important thing to note here is because any of these option 2 scenarios are available to us. There's no significant cost difference. There's no significant cost difference in Phase 1, obviously, because it's in the same place and it's the same project. And so other than some negotiations around exchange of property and so on, there really aren't any cost differences between option B1, B2. So it's just for the purposes of your preference for what the consultants use for costing as we move forward.
This is one where I think it's important to note that the Board of County Commissioners are moving forward option B2 for the courthouse, which I think is important for you to just note because the Sky Bridge was too long and too far, and that results in a larger footprint of a courthouse on the City Hall block.
Okay, ready for discussion? And I saw a hand up here. George, you go first, and then.
I just want to go around.
I'll just go around.
Yeah.
Okay.
Real quickly, I'm glad that B1 is not being considered anymore by the county. I kind of favor option B2, except for the fact that you have the phase 2 of City Hall, I guess it would be on the north side of that block, north of the Butterfly Lot, is that correct?
Correct.
And in option B1, you have phase 2 directly across the street from City Hall. I propose option B2A2, which would be to move the second phase across the street from City Hall like it's depicted in option B1. So have all of the county facility on the city lot with the phase 1 City Hall on the corner, and then phase 2 across the street.
So we're going to call that B1.
I don't know what to call it.
Well, why don't we just,
Or B3.
B3.
Make it
It's
B.
actually B1. It's just they'll take our B1.
Because we're only considering
yeah, we're only considering City Hall.
It's RB1.
It's RB1. Okay.
All right, very good. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Sarah.
All right, Alan?
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. We're not considering the blue part, the county, and they put B2, but that's not relevant to what we're talking about. I'd prefer having our phase 2 be across the street on the city. We own both those lots, so it would be all on city property. So, and that would consolidate the City Hall a little bit more and frees up Farmers Market to be where it is, and then the county can do whatever they want with the remodeled county courthouse. Although my personal experience with remodels is they never come in on budget. So the fact that we're assuming that they're both the same cost per square foot, I take that with a grain of salt. Remodels tend to have hidden costs that don't get known until you start taking the building apart and putting it back together, that add cost to it dramatically. And so parking for scenario B is to have underground parking on the City Hall lot and temporary parking across the street where phase 2 would go to, and then build up on the, what are we calling that parking garage that's behind the bank? Do we have a name for it? The parking lot behind the bank?
We're calling it north of the Umpqua Bank parking lot. I'm not sure if it had, what its name is.
Okay, we'll call it the lot north of
North of the bank, the Umpqua lot. But
So in this case, it would be, that would build up that and have underground parking. And we'd have temporary parking for phase 1 across the street, which we already have, right?
Correct. And some parking on the north side of the west half of the lot as it was in the current plan.
Until
the courts happen, right. An important clarification here is that then the parking below the courthouse would be for courthouse use, but we would presume, well, we've talked about having 20 to 24 spots for the city that would be developed as part of that as well, to replace what would be built over on the north part of the lot.
Right, and I assume in the negotiations that John was referring to, that would then be a cost placed on the courthouse because it's displacing our parking that we would need to rebuild, and it would be unfair to place that onto the city.
I won't get into negotiation.
I think all that's just part of a negotiation. Whichever turns out, all of those are part of a negotiation.
Right. I just don't want to see us start giving value to the city or to the county without having compensation for it.
Okay. You done?
Yeah.
Chris?
Yeah, for all the reasons that have been said before, I think B1 is the preferred choice. If we're only looking at the city piece, I think having phase 2 across the street from phase 1 makes a lot more sense. Plus, it does actually open up some new opportunities, not only at the north end of the Butterfly lot, but also where the current courthouse is. That could either be remodeled, refurbished, rebuilt, or there's a whole variety of things you could do with that. So I could see a host of opportunities that B1 could provide. So I'm definitely supportive of B1.
Betty?
Of these two, I would support that, yes. I have a question. I thought we had heard that the Butterfly lot is available. Is that not true?
We haven't got an actual ruling back from the judicial system that says it is available. That's the process that you requested that the county work through. They are working through that. We just not have gotten a final ruling yet.
So you think it will be years?
We hope it's going to be weeks rather than years, but the court will eventually choose, and I couldn't tell you the details of which court it's in.
It would be hard to decide what we really want.
Everybody is working diligently to try to come to a conclusion on that as soon as possible, because we know it's in the best interest of the county, the court, and the city.
Thank you. Well, of these two, I would take B1.
Thank you.
And whatever we do, we should not ask the farmer's market to move.
Mike?
I want to say that again.
Thank you, Mayor. I would say that both of these options are preferable to either of the A options. And so when it comes to our decision making, isn't it wiser to narrow down for the sake of the folks we're paying to give us good information about a decision making process, for us to be unconstrained? Because it feels a good deal to me like we're being forced to choose one or the other to keep an A option on the table, where personally I would prefer to keep one of the C options and both the B options, or perhaps both the C options and one of the B options, because I find them superior to the A options. But it seems like this is kind of forced and directed. Is there a reason for that?
But I would, and others can weigh in as well, with respect to some of these things, like where the phase 2 goes, and I think this is part of what Mike talked about in his introduction. If you build new or you remodel, the net cost is somewhat similar. And so at the end of the day, if you choose B1 in this particular case, and we get to the place that we know phase 1 is going to be on the current site, the courthouse is going to fulfill their requirements on our current city hall site, while they will go through the details of, for example, a B1 option, the green building on B1, the cost of that versus the cost over in B2 may not be that much different based on some of the comments Mike made around remodel or new. And so we will do all the detailed costing. I don't think it definitively puts a phase 2 in that specific location. Does that make sense? So I think
I was actually asking about the process more than the outcome.
Okay.
I guess I can answer that. We're going off the original motion that you directed us to follow these 3 sites, these 3 different scenarios.
Thank you for that.
Much better answer.
I guess I would choose B1 if forced to choose between these options. But again, I would find both these, and certainly both the C options, preferable to either of the A options.
Okay, George Brown.
I like option B1.
Okay,
Seems to make the most sense.
thank you. Claire?
I agree that B1 seems to be the best choice. I guess I'm curious why, in scoping out these 2 scenarios, maybe why Cameron McCarthy didn't look at the consolidated county building with our city hall where it's currently sited and that option across the parking lot, rather than the Sky Bridge option with our phase 2 in the parking lot. Is there some rationale behind that?
I mean, we were trying to be as comprehensive as possible and look at as many alternatives as possible. So it was just, the option that seems to be the most favorable, is certainly one we could have looked at. But again, the phase 2 city hall pieces really can go anywhere on the site. And we wanted to, until we have a better understanding about the costs regarding the remodel of the court, until we knew what those costs were, and then it would be more of a wash, and it would be just as expensive to remodel as to build new. We still had to think about the connectivity and access for the court building, and the DA sheriff's being located on a different site. It does, when you select the it's the B1 option, I guess, and no Skybridge, or it's really the B2 option is what the county is looking for. It adds 1 story to the building. It creates a little bit more building mass on that site that's going to be shared with the city hall.
Okay. Thank you. I guess I'm hearing and I agree with councilors that maybe a B3 option of the consolidated county building, and then our phase 1 where we've got it now, and the phase 2 across the street. You know, I'll pick B1, but that creates a nice synergy, I think, even though the county building is large and our phase 1 is not so big. But in terms of connectivity, I like that kind of alternative.
I think we're going to put a motion out because I think we just need to do that. But I think we need to be careful that when we say B1, what we're really meaning. So
Right. So the choice that we're making is independent of the county's building and the county's decision. We'll mix and match those later, right? So the county had a choice of B2 and we had B1, then we could combine those into the new B.
Absolutely.
Yep. Right.
So Alan,
So-
I actually skipped over Mike, and so then you can make the motion.
All right.
Thank you, Mayor. Several of these have very similar sorts of characteristics, just in different places, and that's good. That's how we should do the consideration, I suppose. Some of the A options, for example, have, you know, the phase 2 on current site behind, and we've moved one of those forward. This has phase 2 across the street, as opposed to what you've said is similarly costed for the refurbishment of the courthouse building. Will we have, how accurate will be the guess, I suppose, the forecast of a potential cost on phase 2 in each of the places across the street and on the current lot?
Well, given that there's an escalation and not really having a crystal ball as far as how far out phase 2 will occur, we're going to take the gross square foot costs of the types of buildings that are being proposed, and then escalate those, and we're using that. And so it would be as accurate as for phase 2 as we can, based upon the knowledge and the information that we're receiving now as far as when phase 2 might occur. Okay. Currently, we're using something that might be 10 years out.
Okay, and John, we will have then as well, then if it is a 10-year window proposed or suggested, we will have the alternative cost for renting for that 10 years as a part of the decision making? Okay, I just wanted to confirm that. Thank you.
Okay, you want to put the motion out?
Yeah, I'll move to adopt scenario B1 for the city configuration, regardless of the county configuration.
Second.
Do we need to put language in there, but with a preference for across the street?
That is.
Oh, that is B1. Right, sorry. Okay. All right. So, did it get a second for that?
I second.
Okay, thank you. All right. All right. All those in favor, please indicate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Claire?
I vote yes.
7 in favor, none in opposition. It passes. We're now on to scenario C.
Okay, the C scenario then, of course, is the exchange of property. The courthouse is the same, so we won't have any of those issues about choosing C1 and C2 with the county portion. So the City Hall, Phase 1 is on the north half of the Butterfly lot. The Northwest Spark Block is reclaimed. The Farmers Market is in the same location. So this is basically just two different ways of imagining how Phase 2 might unfold, with option C1 having the majority of the space in a remodeled former courthouse and some additional space over in the Wells Fargo building, versus option C2, which is a new building in place of the old courthouse and some additional lease space. And if I guess I would say if there's a preference not to show lease space in the costing, we should probably just do it as a new building and assume that to simplify things. So I'm offering that as a possibility as well.
Because that's existing.
Right. Yeah, this is just showing some existing leases that we have and the ability to phase in a different way. But for the purposes of costing and being apples to apples, I'm proposing that we do it based on a new building at the existing courthouse site, unless you have a preference to do it a different way. So those are the main differences there. So.
You ready for discussion? Okay. I'm going to start and go around this way.
My preference would be C1. I'm a little uncomfortable with splitting up the second phase of City Hall the way it is in C1 and C2. At least C1, it's more condensed. You don't have 3 locations as indicated in C2. So my preference would be C1.
All right, George?
Thanks, Mayor. So what we're assuming here is that there's not going to be enough room to house all of the city offices in Phase 1 and Phase 2 just at the Old County Courthouse. We need more. I think we were short. I was doing my figures a few days ago.
What we're finding with some of the early initial costs, and this was really to kind of look at a remodel, which would, of the existing court, which is only about 112,000 square feet. And the program for the full build out of Phase 2 is about 115,000 square feet, which doesn't take into account the municipal court as yet. So now that we're kind of refining that it might be a wash, and then if I even might, as Councilor Zalenka says, that it might be more expensive to remodel, the scenario of building a new building on that courthouse site, all of those green areas shown on top of Wells Fargo or on top of the Parkview building that are currently leased by the city now could go away completely, and it could be a taller building on the courthouse side.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, that could be, certainly one scenario.
Yeah, that's what I thought that Mr. Penwell was saying,
Right.
but I just wanted to.
And this modeling really occurred
Fair
when we were
enough.
thinking about the remodel and how constricted we were with the size of that building.
Right.
Now that we're not necessarily constricted per se, I mean, we can still pursue that, and as we refine costs, it might pencil out that the remodel makes sense, but what we're seeing initially is that it's probably a wash.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
So you said C1?
Yes.
Yeah. And Mike?
C1.
Okay, and Claire?
Yeah, I agree with C1, and although I do really worry about the court decision and the cost of this swap, I like the, just in terms of playing around with scenarios, I like the synergy that C1 creates in terms of the Civic Plaza idea and creating that space in that way. So, C1.
Okay, Betty?
I'd say C1 also, but did you consider adding to the courthouse the space that the city's currently using?
We really, I mean, to the new courthouse.
If we remodel the courthouse for Phase 2 and adding the space that we're now using.
We didn't really look at any scenario where we were going to incorporate county functions with city functions in the court building.
No, I'm talking about the space we're using.
This building.
Oh, this building.
This building being added to the courthouse. Someone mentioned that at our joint meeting, and I think.
Councilor Taylor, I think I remember Brian Craner mentioning that they had some programming planned for the space once the city vacates, and that could be up for discussion at the county, but I think that was what I heard said at the JEO meeting.
Might be a part of what we would require if we give them the full block too. But of these two, I prefer C1, but I do think we should not be scattering city offices all over downtown. I think that's a big mistake. Thank you.
Chris?
Let me just clarify. C1 has written on it remodel. So C1 is a remodel of the existing county courthouse building. C2 is building a new building there, which could be built tall enough to consolidate everything into one building.
Correct.
So by choosing C1, that forces me to have another building somewhere else, whether it's in the Wells Fargo building or somewhere else, because if I'm remodeling, I can't make the building big enough to consolidate.
That's correct.
So I think I hope there's some confusion that C1 does not represent a new building that could house everything. It's remodeling a building, which is more expensive to me than building a new building. So my preference would be, technically, my preference would be C2 or option 2, because that allows us to build a new building that would eliminate the need for phase 2 at the Wells Fargo building, eliminate the need for the phase 2 in the other building, and you could put it all in one space.
And that's what I was trying to describe, and I didn't do a very good job. Maybe a better way of putting that would be to have the green go away on the Wells Fargo building. I did the Music Man in high school.
Yeah, right.
The Parkview building. So those pieces of green go away, and all of the phase 2 functions go into a new
building on the courthouse site.
That's sort of the
okay
modification of C2, if people would be willing to accept.
So with that clarification in mind, I would encourage my colleagues to support C2 because it represents a new building that could be built to our phase 2 specifications and not require us to be spread out in a bunch of other buildings. I think it would also wind up in a cost per square foot basis to be cheaper than trying to remodel the current courthouse to fit a phase 2 needs that it wouldn't really accommodate. So to me, the only difference is new building versus remodel, and I think phase C2 is a wiser option. So I support C2.
Alan?
Yeah, I was going to make the same comment. So really, C2 is where you'd build a new building which could accommodate everything on the old county courthouse, and C1 is actually remodeling the county courthouse, which that wouldn't be my preference. If the cost is going to be the same, let's build a new building. And I don't think the costs are going to be the same. I think remodeling is going to be more expensive. But and then whether or not we do anything with the Wells Fargo building or the River, what is it, River? Parkview. That's kind of independent of this. So if that's the question is, should we remodel or build new on the county courthouse site, then I'm in favor of C2.
Okay, so let's have you put a motion out, and then we'll see what people want to do. Did you have your hand up?
Yeah, so did Betty.
Oh, sorry. Okay, all right, go ahead.
Well, I guess when I'm starting to get a little confused. So C2 now is with the new building and the 2 green spots to the bottom of that depiction gone?
Correct.
Yeah, right. They go away.
Then that changes my
Just
opinion.
some clarification. The green spots on the C2 option represent the entire phase 2 program requirements in terms of square footage. That building size, as well as adding into account the 2 floors on top of Wells Fargo plus the partial floor on the Parkview. What this would mean is we would remodel the new building at the old courthouse site to accommodate the entire program for Phase 2 City Hall. So what you're seeing would be a taller building than what's represented in the model now. And then we would need to make sure, and I believe it is, we'd make sure that if the direction is there to have the municipal court component, that 20,000 square feet for them would be in that same model.
So next is George.
Thanks, Mayor. So if we change our minds and go with option C2, that means that does that mean we're removing the remodel option for the county courthouse and saying, no, we're going to build new? I don't think we should do that. I think we should get reasonably detailed estimates. I think we should wait and see, what the cost estimates are for that. So maybe, yeah.
Picking C2 would preserve that option still, because that's still a future decision point. It's just for the purposes of costing these to use a new piece on that site is what we're proposing.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, I think it makes sense. I mean, the decision point should be, as this keeps moving forward and you hone down the costs and get a little more, finer grained with that. But the way I heard it was, it would remove the option of a remodel, which I think today, since we don't know the cost, I think that would be premature to take that off the table.
All I wanted to make it
Maybe
clear
I
is that
misunderstood something in
the remodel option certainly can stay on the table, but the size of the building currently does not accommodate the entire Phase 2 program or the municipal court. And so that's why we were showing those green areas in other parts of the city campus. And that's kind of one thing to consider.
Okay, and then aren't we still waiting for, in May for some time? It's my understanding that there'll still be a lot of free room in this building, in the public service building. The county's moving certain programs out. Do you know if they're going to be moving things back in here?
I think we would need to have the county kind of step in. I can't.
So that's kind of, well, I understand. I just thought maybe you had heard something. Okay.
Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm all for consolidating into two buildings, Phase 1 and Phase 2, just in the abstract. However, our choice of A1 creates a new building behind Phase 1, the Phase 2 building being a new construction building. What we've just chosen in the B options is a new building across the street. So now if we choose C2, we have, as George mentioned, taken the remodel of that building as an option we will consider completely off the table. And I don't think that's wise. I think we ought to at least hear the information, since we're not making decisions today, of what that cost would be. We're just hearing the information, right? We're not making decisions today. If so, one of our options needs to keep that remodel alive as a possibility for the sake of consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we should have learned from the destruction of City Hall that probably people were saying it would cost as much to remodel as to rebuild. I think we now know that that is not true. And I think that we could, in the negotiations, if the county really wants our entire lot, I think it would be possible to insist on enough space at this location for Phase 2. And I think we should consider that and not just give up and say, well, maybe they want to use it for something else. After all, that whole city block is worth a lot.
Chris?
Thank you. Yeah, I've not seen any information that remodeling the existing City Hall building would have been a better option or a cheaper option. I've not seen any evidence to that. To me, it doesn't make a lot of sense to pay to remodel a building that's not big enough to begin with. Part of our goal has been to consolidate Phase 2 services into one building. It is a goal. We built Phase 1 to be the administrative center, and we wanted Phase 2 to consolidate as much as we could into the other building. And so to intentionally say, I want to remodel this building knowing it is not big enough so that I'm going to have to do something in addition is not an economical choice to me. So I would prefer to build a new building that does the job than to remodel a building simply because it's remodeling. My admittedly limited experience with building new versus remodeling is that remodeling is more expensive. Because you discover all of these things you didn't know were there, all of these things that were not on the plans, all of these unexpected things. And that's always been the case. And so I think to remodel something for the sake of remodel is not a cost-effective choice. I think if you want to consolidate and you want to do the job right the first time, you do the building that you really need to do. You don't just remodel it because it exists. You remodel it because it's going to work. And we already know the building is too small. So we know the building doesn't work. So to me, I want to build a building that's going to work from the get-go. And so if it needs to be a floor or two taller, in order to accommodate all of that, we can do that with a new building. And to me, that seems to make more economic sense.
Okay, Alan?
So maybe it would be clarify is that option C2 is a consolidated building. So we just have one extra building, and these others Wells Fargo go away. So that would be C2. That's a consolidated new building. And the C1 is remodel and then have to do an additional space to get the square footage. So those are does that make sense to folks?
So it could be, it's both options?
Well, I don't think you can remodel and add to the county courthouse.
Correct.
So, no.
I think if you choose C1, we would build a new phase one of 32,000 square feet. We would remodel the courthouse at however many square feet that is, and then we would add a factor to build the remainder as a new piece of construction at an unknown location, just for the purposes of.
Or does the Wells Fargo, is that a remodel or is that a tear down, build new?
Well, that
could be either.
Could be, yeah.
Could be either. Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Motion up?
So there's two options. C2 is consolidate in one space on the old county courthouse, and C1 is to remodel the courthouse and add additional space. So everybody's clear about that? So I'll move option C2, which is to consolidate all on one space on the old county courthouse building.
Second?
Second, just because it's my job.
Moved and seconded. All right. All those in favor, please indicate. 1, 2, 3. Claire?
I will vote in favor of C2 given the discussion and clarifications. So I vote yes.
Okay, 4. Okay, those in opposition? 3, so the C2 is the choice. Okay. So, yes.
To clarify a couple of points that's about what's going to be in the next phase in the report. Mike asked for rental costs being included, which I think is appropriate, but the rental costs need to be net costs. So if we're going to continue to rent, we pay those costs. If we build something new, we have to pay the cost of that building. So the debt service associated with that it has to be taken into consideration that we're no longer paying rent, but now we're paying for new space. And in some instances, I could see where that would actually be more cost to the city than continuing to rent space, depending on what the price per square foot is of the rental space. So it's not necessarily true that if we consolidate everything, our costs go down. It could go substantially up. So is that going to be in the final report?
I don't know from Cameron McCarthy what our intent is to bring any and all information that you need to make a decision, some of which will be in Cameron McCarthy report, some will be outside of that report. So if they're not providing that, our intent will be to provide that.
Because there's not just an option of don't rent. There's an option the option doesn't exist in the real world.
It's kind of the
don't rent and move into something else.
What's the total package cost of doing all of any particular option?
Right, and the cost of the options that we've narrowed down, that's what we're going into the next, that's why we've narrowed this down, is to get to the cost. So, and that will be brought back on the 11-14 final report, and that will include parking, new costs like redesign, utilities, things like that, plus the land values. How are you going to deal with the land values part? Because you got this, like in option C, you've got the county now owning for the courthouse the whole block versus the city owning a quarter of the a block, and they're not equal.
I don't think our intent was to bring back the land values as part of that conversation. I think we would see that as part of a negotiation through that. So I'm not quite sure. I guess we'd have to think about that a little bit. We'll have to think about that a little bit.
Then asking us to assume that it'll all just work out, and that the assumptions between what the values are of the land are not part of the equation, and they absolutely have to be part of the equation. So that needs to be incorporated into the calculation.
Yeah, we'll have to give a little bit of thought of how all that gets included in that conversation. So I'm not sure yet, so I guess we'll have to think through that.
Right. I mean, there's all stuff to be negotiated, but there's value there that needs to be equalized in some way, as opposed to just giving value away and having this city pay for it.
So maybe that's part of the value of a values discussion about what's, as we go toward the end of this, what are the other things that are important.
And I think what we've thought about is we'll go through the Cameron McCarthy report, which is a piece of this whole conversation, a really critical piece of the conversation. That will work through the JEO process as well. The values that we just sort of flashed on there and you've been talking about for several years also, it feels like, drives an ultimate decision of how you individually or collectively choose to articulate those values. We do have the work session that was requested several weeks ago around the e-website. That's coming up, could be next week. November 9th. And so any of the other information, we're going to try to bring all that to you for you to then tease out of that a decision, which includes the values, which includes a follow-on work session, which includes the report and any other information that comes out of any of these meetings or the JEO conversation. So
What Christy said in our initial discussion today was these are the values we've been using, but if there are other values that need to move forward, that needs to that can affect our final decision as well, and that's something to think about as we move toward the end here.
Still, one more point on that is that, for instance, the current City Hall lot is build ready, and the Butterfly lot isn't. It needs to be deconstructed and then made build ready. So there's a cost associated with that too. That
which would be a part of I think, their evaluation around how do you get the site buildable ready.
Yeah, I just want to get an apples to apples comparison between A, B, and C so you can clearly see that.
Yes.
What the additional cost of moving is.
Done?
Yeah.
Okay, Betty.
Thank you.
I got Mike.
So have we decided not to ask for additional space in the county building by this motion?
Yes. No. You don't think so? Because you're not going to remodel. You could use space in it if you.
We might not have to build as big a new building if we use some space in the county.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, thanks.
Decided that won't be part of what we bring back is the final report on costing models, but you can always make a decision down the road to change up your options on phase two.
It'd be
depending
too
on what
late
comes
for
up.
Maybe the county will offer something else if they really want our land.
It's too late for
You done, Betty?
I'm done, thank you.
Mike.
In a similar vein, I understood from what you'd said that the municipal court and the space that it will need is a part of the consolidate C2 option that we just voted for. Is that correct?
It would be in that model. There's 115,000 square feet for phase two, gross square feet, and another 20,000 for the municipal court. And those would be consolidated, and that's what the model would show.
135 for the total. 135
for the total.
Well, 20,000 doesn't seem like that much. I wondered and thought perhaps that number was a little bit bigger. And so my point was going to be perhaps if the municipal court was accommodated as a part of the courthouse rebuild on the current City Hall lot in that building's entirety, it would reduce the amount of square footage we needed and perhaps put the rebuild back on the table. So I will say if the municipal court were a part of the county's courthouse build on the current City Hall site, you take away that footage. If we still had some access to square footage in this building for use of some kind or for those functions of city and county government like planning where there's close interaction, we might be able to economically rebuild that other building or remodel it and have enough space. My concern is that we're not looking at that as an option now with what we've chosen. I would also suggest that it's wiser for us to consider at this point the B option we chose, C1 and C2, rather than any of the A options. And I wish we were doing that. Thank you.
Just I've got George in the queue. But my question, I believe in our JEO discussion that there had been discussion with the court about putting a municipal court, and there were different demands and needs, and that's why they took didn't move forward with that idea, right?
You are correct, Mayor. Do you have anything else to add to that, Larry?
No, I think discussions and review with the stakeholders, neither the municipal court or the county court felt like there was enough energy or synergy to have them located together. So the models that you saw show all of the green modeling includes the municipal court in those models, and all of the blue areas are strictly court and county functions.
George Brown?
That answered my question. Thank you.
Alan, did you have something?
Yeah, just clarify something that you just said, Mike. So what the assumption is associated with taking A1 off the table without looking at the cost first. Are you making an assumption that regardless of the cost, we should take A1 off the table? If it turns out that it's $5 million more, we still should take it off the table?
Of course not. And I think stewardship was listed as our first goal, and it has always been my first. But I would suggest that that the political support for that in the community and at this table may not be present because it requires moving the farmers market off the butterfly lot, and I don't know if that support exists.
All right. So is there other decisions that we need to make today?
No, and I appreciate all of the work that you did to make the decisions and to provide the direction for the team and for Cameron McCarthy to move forward. Just wanted to alert you to the upcoming meetings that we have. So the next council work session is scheduled for November 9th. That work session we'll be discussing the e-website option consideration. On November 14th is the final JEO meeting, and we'll receive the final report from Cameron McCarthy. And then on the 21st is when the council will have an opportunity to discuss all of the different information points that you've received and help narrow in on a decision.
So my only thing about that is, as we look toward that final date, to be sure that we think we have enough time.
Yeah.
So if we need an extended council meeting or something of that sort for us to get through everything, that we should probably consider that if it's needed.
I'd also say, Mayor, if there's any piece of information that any of you think is really important for you to be able to make a decision, please let us know that sooner than later, and then we can try to accommodate that. Other than, there has been obviously lots of talked about, so we have that piece, but if there's anything in addition to that, please let us know so we can try to provide that.
All right. Thank you, everybody.